Hey Most Amazing Top 10 family, I'm your host Che Dorena and welcome back to Most Amazing Top 10. There have been hundreds of news stories of people who just get up and leave their old lives behind. Some people do this so they can run away with a new love and start fresh, and other people do this so they can disappear and never be seen again. I'm going to be looking into some of these cases, and a few of them may surprise you with today's list of top 10 scary people found living in caves. As always, I would love it if you could like, comment, subscribe, and hit the little notification bell. And if you're looking for some more Most Amazing Top 10 content, check us out on Instagram and Facebook. We are starting to do Facebook exclusive content, and if any of you at home need some merch, check out the link in the description below. Use the offer code MA10 to get $5 off, which means you can grab a shirt for only $10, which is a sweet deal. And without taking any longer, let's get into this list. At number 10, we have the Las Vegas mole people. I had no idea that this was a thing, but apparently there are thousands of people living in the sewer tunnels underneath Las Vegas. YouTuber Wonton Don, with the help of the Shine the Light Foundation, went to explore and document some of these happenings. The Shine the Light Foundation focuses on getting people out of these tunnels and back into stable living conditions, and they help thousands of people each year. Because the people who choose to live in these tunnels aren't monks walking away from society, it's because they have massive drug addictions and can't afford to live anywhere else. The tunnels are predominantly dominated by two factions, the meth addicts and the heroin addicts. The Shine Light Foundation warns the film crew that they should be careful at certain points where they're filming because some of the people down there are in hiding. They're hiding from pimps and dealers, and pointing their camera in the wrong direction could lead to a knife in the belly. Oof, that's kind of freaky. At number 9, we have the SASSI de MATERA cave homes. Aerial shots of this place are some of the most beautiful things that I have ever seen. Homes carved out of caves created 9,000 years ago. This is the oldest inhabited city on the planet. In the modern era, there have been improvements like running water and electricity to make these homes livable, but after World War II, this place was one of the most dangerous places you could live in Italy. A massive malaria outbreak started killing thousands of people, and everyone was forced to evacuate the area. Since then, the area has been deemed safe again, but who knows when another outbreak could happen. At number 8, we have Nowhere to Go. Back in August of 2018, police got a call that some people had been jumping a fence in a gated area where there were man-made caves. These caves were close to the downtown core of Nottingham, England. It was a strange call, but it could have just been some teenagers that were going in to vandalize the place. When the police arrived, they didn't find teens trying to spray paint the walls, but some homeless people that were using the caves for shelter. There was no violence. The police just went in and talked to them a little to try and figure out what their situation was. It was a very sad and scary thing to see. People who need to climb into a cave just to have somewhere to live. At number 7, we have Flagman. That is the nickname given to Steve Badigan, who has chosen to leave everything he knew behind him and go live in a hole that he dug out of a plot of land that he owns. He's right off the highway in Denver, and to him the idea of living a life of luxury is more repulsive than an eating challenge on Fear Factor. You remember that? When people were eating bugs and genitals for $250,000 for our entertainment? That was a beautiful time. Well, Steve probably doesn't even know anything about Fear Factor because he just grows potatoes and lives without any electricity. He's got a dog though, so I trust this dude. He's doing something right. The government wants to kick him off his land because he's living on residential land and his home is technically a giant pile of garbage. But he will not go down without a fight. He says nothing will stop him from living free in his little man-made cave hole. At number 6, we have Dan Suello. This isn't the first guy who has taken a look at his life and said, screw this. I'm gonna leave everything behind and just take off into the wild. Some people see the daily grind, going to work at a 9-to-5 job just to pay bills and have a limited social life, going out to drink just to wake up with a hangover, and they say, I'm done. That's what Dan Suello did. He looked at his living situation and life, and then he said, I don't want to do this anymore. He took the money that he had, he left it behind in a phone booth, and then he drove to the Utah Canyonlands. The landscape is littered with caves and wild growing vegetables. For almost 2 decades, he's been living out in the wilderness without using any sort of modern technology. Part of why he did this is because he believes the system is broken and something needs to be done of how life is lived. He felt people were too dependent on a life of comfort and that it was slowly taking its toll on humanity. And of course, wearing down the planet. He wanted to be an example of how you don't have to live by the status quo. At number 5, we have Tunnel Man. When you have nowhere to go, sometimes the best option is just to dig a tunnel in the ground and hope for the best. Sean Heron fell on some hard times while living in Clovis, New Mexico and had nobody to turn to. And when that happens, you have to take the situation into your own hands. So he dug a tunnel underground and he started living in a cave behind a baseball diamond. It was completely hidden until one person saw him going in and out and decided to post a video tour on Facebook while Sean wasn't there. And to be honest, for a cave, it wasn't that bad. He had a closet, some drawers that he dug out of the walls, and a bed. Some people were worried that he might be violent, but most people see it's just a man who decided to live in a cave. Also, the city can't do anything about it because he dug his new home on private property, so it's up to the landowners to kick him off. He was arrested once for trespassing but was quickly released and then went right back to living in his little hole. I bet he's just praying that it never rains. At number 4, we have the Silent Cave Baba. Throughout the jungles of India, there are people who've chosen a monk-like life and live in caves away from society. YouTuber Dakota of Earth was looking to find one of these men. He was known as the Silent Baba. Dakota ventured throughout the jungle looking for the orange cloth. It said that the entrance of his cave home was marked by an orange cloth and that his home was located under a waterfall. Just talking about this, it sounds like some sort of quest in a video game. Once he found this wise man in the cave, he did live up to his name. The man didn't speak a word. He communicated with some self-made sign language. Once he was there, the two sat down and enjoyed a couple of handmade rolled cigarettes. The whole experience seems somewhat mystical. When Dakota came to visit him, he gave him a shawl and a few bananas. It might be gifts like this that ensure the Cave Baba's survival, or he might have an unknown survival technique that we will never know because the Cave Baba has taken a vow of silence. At number 3, we have Lost. Now the next one isn't about someone living in a cave, but it's a terrifying story, so I wanted to keep it on this list. YouTuber Exploring with Josh was doing a trip into the ape cave at Mount St. Helens. The exploration was going pretty normal, a few jokes here and there, and the whole place is pretty beautiful. But then in a tucked away spot deep in the cave, they literally had to squeeze themselves in there to get into this section. They find a little girl, probably only 8 years old, all by herself. She has no flashlight, she didn't speak English, and she was very afraid and crying. For a moment, a wave of shock hits the whole crew and everyone has no idea what to do. They just found a crying kid in a cave, and this obviously isn't an everyday occurrence, but luckily they found her parents and everyone was reunited. But could you imagine what that would be like for you as a kid? You're in a foreign country, you don't speak the language, and you're lost in a cave. I would be crying like a baby. At number 2, we have The Fugitive. In China back in 2002, a man escaped a work camp. His name was Song Jiang, and he was arrested and tried for the crime of human trafficking. Officials tried to track him down for years, but they were unable to find him. After almost 2 decades of searching, he was nowhere to be found. It seemed that he had either fled the country or maybe he took his own life out of fear of the government. Turns out it was none of these. For this entire time, Jiang had been hiding and living in caves. Cops received some information from someone living in the area that Jiang was living up in a cave system in a secluded area. They sent in a team of drones to see if they could find him. They found a cave opening covered in blankets and tools, then sent in a team to see if this was his hideout, and sure enough, it was. You think if he spent years working in human trafficking, he would be able to sneak himself out of the country. Also, I don't know what is worse, a life living in caves or a life in prison, but I don't know, I guess he got both, so you would have to ask him. And for our number 1 spot, we have the ICEMAN. This video was taken by some tourists going on a regular cave tour. While filming, they spotted this.
Someone climbing up the wall. It's an ICEMAN. It's a ghost. Jesus, what is that?
Like any good supernatural video, it's pretty hard to make out what we are looking at, but it does look like some sort of man with light blue skin scaling the wall. Could it be some sort of cave animal that we haven't discovered yet? Or is this a man who has somehow managed to live in an ice cave and learned how to climb sheer rock walls? It's definitely unsettling and you can hear everyone react in awe, but I guess we're gonna have to let this one stay a mystery. Alright everyone, that is our list. Thank you all so much for tuning in. As always, I would love it if you could like, comment, subscribe, and hit the little notification bell. Until next time, I've been Shade Arena, and I guess I gotta go explore some caves, find this blue ice dude or something. Bye.